Hello, everyone. Welcome to eLearnChat, where talk, it's knowledge. Hi, everyone. I'm Rick Zanotti, and welcome to eLearnChat. Today, we are joined by some great people, and here we are. We've got with us today co-hosting Trina Rimmer. Hey, Trina, how are you?
Hey, Rick, I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing great, and so many thanks for coming on and taking over for Dawn. She is on the road and working, so glad
It
you
is
could
my
join
pleasure.
us.
Thanks for having me.
No, our pleasure. And today we've got a guest, an old friend of mine, somebody who I've known for not quite 20 years, but we're getting there. It's been quite a while, though he and I haven't talked in a long time. He kind of went his way and we went ours, and we converged about a couple weeks ago on social media. And as a result, we invited him on the show. His name is Bob, or Robert Van Hoof. He runs, he's the CEO of Strategic Vision. He's got an extensive background with the military. He was 20 years and 20 minutes. Got to keep those 20 minutes in mind in the military. Army captain. He worked, I think if I recall in the old days, he worked in Special Forces. He's done a lot of different things. And Bob now has a new product that they're launching, which is kind of the beginning of some new stuff for him. And it is called PPV Train, payperviewtrain.com. So welcome, please, Bob Van Hoof. Hey, Bob, how are you?
Hey, pretty good. Thanks, Rick, for having me on the show.
Oh, our pleasure. Thanks for coming on. So, Bob, what have you been doing all these years?
Well, let's see. You know, I finished up my career there in the military and started Strategic Vision. That's when we first met. And we've been through the mill. Everything from, simple computer-based training to hybrids, and then finally migrating that to web-based training. We were early adopters on the .NET platform, so we've been building applications which make creating training much simpler, dealing with very large audiences like 60+ thousand students with United Technologies and FEMA, folks like that. And so we've been ready for a revolution. We're getting ready to start that here with the pay-per-view training website.
That sounds good. Now you're going to be showing that in a couple of minutes. And so what inspired you to do pay-per-view training? Now it is a website where you can load content, and if I recall correctly, there's no particular charge for the website. It's the charge for the content, right?
Correct. So this is what we're doing. After I looked at how we were delivering large-scale amounts of training, we came up with some pretty interesting metrics. So this first site will deal with safety training and technical training, OSHA compliance. All of it is SCORM standards. When I say that, it's multiple versions, so whatever version might be needed. It's mobile device ready. We've been using mobile devices now for a few years, mobile apps as well as tablets. And there's no charge to get in there. The courses themselves range from 1 to 4 credits. A credit is $5. So for the price of a cup of coffee, you can in fact take your safety training.
And if I recall correctly, also it is OSHA certified.
That is correct. Each one of these courses was built and reviewed by an industrial hygienist, various subject matter experts, and some technical items like we've got a course called Foreign Object Damage Elimination, ranging from keeping things out of your aircraft engine on the runway to helping people in the manufacturing arena keep their products FOD-free. So it's pretty interesting to see how this has migrated from being very simplistic. In the early days, we were doing what I would call page turners. And then I came up with Bob's levels of interactivity. Level 0 it's just a document. Level 1, it's a page turner. Level 2, we add a little more interactivity and some testing. Level 3, we start adding audio and video and multimedia, and that's where these courses are. The engine itself allows you to create audio without having to go to the studio. It'll read the text on the page and create an audio file as soon as you click save, or you can add your own audio narration, which is behind the scenes, and click save, and it's a done deal. It's a little robotic, but it's getting better as that text-to-speech technology improves.
Yeah, some of the text-to-speech I've seen out there is pretty darn amazing. Some of it takes a lot of work, but you can actually modify diphthongs and accents and everything. I've seen some, maybe it's Liquendo, I'm not sure. There are some really good ones out there, but you can spend a lot of time doing that. Now, you didn't mention what level 5 was, cattle prod, right? We didn't get into positive reinforcement, but I guess we can do that later.
The courses do in fact have remediation tied to the tests. So if you're taking an exam and you miss 5 of the questions, at the end you can review those questions, click a link. It brings up the content that you should have been paying attention to. So you have to pass the exam in order to get your certificate, and that will ultimately get you your, in some cases, like your 10-hour required course, will get you the OSHA card that you need to have on the job site.
That's good. Now, Trina, one of the things, you're an instructional designer and you do a lot of work developing courseware. Have you noticed that remediation is really a dying art today?
Oh, absolutely. I think that people tend to put a quiz in, and they think that because they've put a quiz in and told the learner, oh, here's what you've missed, that's adequate. And I think that giving people the opportunity to learn from their mistakes, to give them feedback and remediation that's meaningful from a performance standpoint, is kind of a lost art. I think it's a lot easier to throw a quick quiz in there and call it done. So it sounds like your product is really trying to focus in on that deeper level of feedback and remediation for the learner.
Absolutely. The tool set that we created was based upon an old set of tools that was available through Allen Communications. It gave you wizards and helped you design your training. It was called Designer's Edge. Mm-hmm. That tool went away many years ago, and that's when I started building my own. And I started thinking through, with all the experience I have, there's a lot of pieces that we're doing that mean nothing, but there's some pieces we're not doing. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to create a tool that required no programming knowledge. It allowed you to get some help building objectives. Objectives were tied to topics. Mm-hmm. Topics and pages had a reason for existing and had questions that were relevant to that information. And if you missed it, we tied the remediation back to that page. That sounds complicated, but it's literally just a click of a button, and you follow the wizard, and you've created a course.
And it's so critical, too, because, we talk a lot about adult learning theory and building buy-in with your learning audience. I think the quickest way to build buy-in is just to show them how, your perhaps misunderstanding of the material is linked to this specific point in the training that you've just completed, so that you have automatic, like, oh, I get it. You told me this and I didn't catch it. Okay, thanks.
Oh yeah, and one of the interesting things that we did with the tool, we were able to create a method for morphing the training on the fly. Because we're using Microsoft.NET, we can take one piece of content, one big chunk, let's say that has to do with spill prevention on the job. Now, if you're in Florida as an employee, you have a certain set of requirements under RCRA that you have to follow. But if you're in California, Cal EPA and Cal OSHA supplement that. So the same content changes based on your audience needs.
And that's a big challenge for a lot of folks who are stuck authoring, particularly compliance type training and safety type training, because there are varying regulations. And it's hard. You want to have more of a one and done approach, but you can't, because there's small changes in regulatory requirements for each state. So, how did you guys develop the idea of this this kind of wizard approach? And it sounds like you started from that with that Design Edge platform. What are some of the things that you found compelling about authoring tools that are out there versus what you've created? I mean, what sets this apart?
The reason the tool became what it is today is because I'm a lazy guy.
Laziness is a huge motivator. Let's not underestimate the productivity that can come when we get tired of trying to bend authoring tools to our will.
Well, we had a course that was the foreign object damage course, and this is kind of how the .NET application started. We were asked to host this course, and it was for the space propulsion industry. The president of that company then said, okay, I need 2 courses, one for the general populace, one for the technicians. Okay, so that was 2 courses we had to maintain. Then they said, well, we need one for the aircraft guys, so there's 3. Well, no, we need general purpose. Now we had 4 courses, and they were being hosted in 2 locations. And because of that craziness to try to maintain that content, we came up with a way to reuse the content and change it on the fly based on if you're military engines or if you were in the space propulsion industry.
That sounds really pretty cool, actually. I mean, I can't tell you how many projects I've worked on with clients who are in similar situations. They have, 18 different versions of their content aimed for different audiences and sitting in different platforms and being consumed in different ways. One of the things I was intrigued about, you mentioned right up front that this is all based on or accessible to learners via mobile devices. What kind of a priority did you put on that? Because it sounds like you guys were kind of out in front of it a little bit.
It was one of our dedicated efforts because we looked at mobile devices, both the iPhone and the Android platforms, and also different evolutions that Linux was taking with Ubuntu, and the fact that in a few years your smartphone will in fact be your computer. Ubuntu has already put their entire operating system on their phone, so your phone is your computer. You just plug it into a docking station and off you go.
Yeah, I mean, I think that companies getting out in front of mobile as your main computing device have certainly a bit of an advantage. I know I personally love consuming all forms of content on my iPad. I mean, it's just a pleasure to use. And as much as I love my laptop, and I've got a MacBook Air, so it's a nice little thin, light device, you can't beat the convenience of that iPad. So,
yeah, in fact, it's funny. My wife just bought the. I think we're getting an echo out there. I don't know if one of you guys has speakers on.
I'll break in for you. Some of the the industry analysis that's going on right now, I've reviewed a lot of it. The current stuff. Within 2 to 3 years, the amount of desktops that are in the workplace is going to be reduced by a large percentage. So about 60 to 70% of all the work is going to be done on some type of mobile device. So we're moving away from the PC underneath your desk in the corner. You still may have a monitor, but you're going to have a docking station. You're going to have your mobile device and just plug it in, and off you go. And people have asked me, so why do I think that this pay-per-view train effort is the next logical step in creating training? So we looked at where the industry was and what some of the folks were doing. PPVdrain.com kind of takes you to the next level. We're going to the cloud. So the organization no longer has to worry about hardware. You don't have to have your own servers. You don't have to worry about hosting costs because you're not getting charged for hosting and bandwidth. It's device independent. You don't have to worry about, do I need this particular PC or this particular mobile device? And they're going to gain a cost savings as more people get involved in this and an economy of scale is achieved. That's where the ppvtrain.com is going to allow them to get training for literally pennies on the dollar. The metrics that we've shown, for instance, a company with 30,000 employees, it was costing 64 cents per student hour to take training.
Wow.
And that's, people think I've kind of lost a screw or something, but it's very achievable because the infrastructure we have is here already. We're doing quite a bit of hosting and have a data center which is dedicated to some things like international, some ITAR data, for instance, International Trafficking in Arms Regulated data, or DoD data. So it's a highly secure facility with a very robust capability for bandwidth. And so we're leveraging that with this ppvtrain.com site. And we'll be able to cover our cost for bandwidth just based on the numbers alone. Just bringing in large amounts of folks to take training, and they're going to get the training for as little as a cup of coffee.
Now, Bob, at this point, would you like to share your screen and show a little bit about what PPV is all about and what it looks like?
Yeah, let's take a look at that. Let's see if I can actually work this.
And by the way, it's interesting you were mentioning that, you think in about 2 years, desktops are going to probably disappear. I base all of my incredible intelligent resource on Best Buy. I go to Best Buy and I look at what they're selling, and there are 3 desktop models on sale, period. They're all gone. And then what you see is 1 million tablets, and then the latest trend that we've seen, aside from notebooks, all-in-ones. So they're like iMacs, except they're now PC-based all-in-ones. They're beautiful. They're not, MSI has one, Lenovo has them, Dell has them, HP, and they're touch screens, most of them. They're just gorgeous devices, and they're considered portable. They give you big bags you can actually carry them in. Oh, it's a 27-inch portable, but they're thin. They're less than an inch thick. And the thing that's interesting about that is I see that in corporations becoming very popular, the all-in-ones, and you're seeing things like the Surfaces and the iPads really doing an enormous amount of work, and you put a big monitor on it, you've got a pretty nice device. So it'll be interesting to see where it actually goes in about 2 years, but it's going fast. I have almost a 6-inch phone, and I'm going, I could do a 7-inch phone, maybe. I haven't. Yeah. I don't know. How big can I get? Big hands to a point, and then you go, how much more can I do with this? I don't know, but I like the big phones. I had 4 iPhones until the 5 came out. I go too small, and I went to Android, and supposedly the big iPhones are coming out in about another month. It will be interesting.
Yeah. I'm interested to see what they've got to offer, because I think that there is something really alluring about those big, beautiful screens on those Androids.
They're nice. They're nice, and that's finally what got me out of the iPhone, and I haven't really looked back. I actually enjoy the Android phones, though I like iPhone too. So, and I use my iPad a lot, but I tell you, I like my 12.2-inch Samsung tablet more. Interesting.
I've heard a lot of good things from people with that Samsung tablet.
Yep. Well, I see Bob's morphed into a website, and
I see that too.
He's ready to share some stuff. Hey, Bob, you're on.
Okay, great. This is the site, ppvtrain.com. It's pretty simple to navigate. A quick description of the courses. You can click the Learn More button.
Now, also, Bob, this also allows you to load your own courses in, correct? Not just the ones that you have.
That will be phase 2, which I'll cover here in a little bit.
Okay.
Phase 1 is strictly pay-per-view. We've got 50 courses right now. We'll kind of take a look at some of those courses, like mere defensive safety courses. We've got driver safety, which is defensive driver commercial. Let you guys read those yourself. Equipment safety. So here's where we're talking about some of the OSHA machine guarding, hand and power tool, but we also go into some of the other equipment, such as forklifts, PIVs, general safety. As we go down this list, the courses become more, become longer and more complicated. Air quality compliance. We actually have some courses which are free. So if you log in, create an account and log in, there's 4 courses you can just take a peek at, and you can use them. You'll get a certificate. Back injury prevention is one of them. We also have portable fire extinguishers. That's usually a one-time course training requirement for new employees. Heat stress and ladder safety. And ladder safety is part of the 10-hour required construction safety, as well as some organizations in manufacturing need that course as well. Bloodborne pathogens, hearing conservation is a big one. There's usually dedicated personnel to monitor noise levels within a manufacturing plant, and respiratory protection, covering all the different types of devices that are required as well.
Now, Bob, if somebody were, let's say, a company, and they wanted to get their employees to take these courses are certified, and they would actually get valid certification for this, correct?
That is correct. And there's two ways to take a course. One is you can take it as an individual, log in, create an individual account, and take an individual course that you might need. Mm-hmm. The other way is for the organization representative, possibly the environmental health and safety rep, to log in and create a company account. They could buy credits and upload their employee list. That allows their employees to come in and take the courses that they need. They get a copy of their certificate. They get an email confirmation, and the environmental health and safety representative also can pull reports to see who has completed their training.
Okay.
You know, Bob, from an instructional design standpoint, one of the things that I talk to clients about a lot is the cost of creating training from scratch. I think people grossly underestimate what it takes to create something that is on par with like a level 3 interaction or beyond. In terms of the value, I know you've talked a lot about the cost to actually complete the training, but what's the value to companies in terms of money savings around development of custom training when they're using this platform instead?
Well, if you're going to use our tools, you're going to also save a lot of time in converting courses. But when we talk about creating a class from scratch, we're talking 2 to 3 weeks for a good designer to take a course like confined space permit writer. There's a lot of technical details in there which requires research, looking up the OSHA specifications, looking for available material. The hard part is finding imagery that will go with that content. Some of it is available online and can be reused, but much of it you have to go out and actually take photographs of your plant. So, if you take the average of, about $100 an hour times 3 weeks, that's a substantial investment to create a single course.
Yeah. I've often joked with friends in the industry that sometimes, folks will pay thousands of dollars just so that they can have their logo on content that is basically, freely available and hasn't really had a whole lot of design applied to it. So Rick's laughing, so I think he's probably encountered that as well.
We just finished doing a massive rebranding project, so yes, that's why I'm sort of laughing about that. All it is change logos. That was it.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, there's quite a bit of that. This is the create account screen where you can see you can do an individual account or an organization account. We're going to go ahead and log in here using my account.
Bob doesn't know that we're actually capturing every keystroke he's doing right now.
That's right.
We've got his password now.
That's right. Oh my
Good
God,
luck.
Bob, is that what you do in your spare time? No, I'm just kidding.
Well, the site's pretty simple. There are some things across the top here that the average user would not see. The organization rep would have the purchase center or the individual. The organization rep would have reports. I have user management, subject matter expert tab, and content management. The subject matter expert tab actually is where we can collaborate with an individual who is reviewing a course. When he runs the course, he can make a comment that instantly sends a message to the development team to make a change, and in a matter of seconds, the course can be changed. I'll give you a little tour, quick tour under the hood, so you can kind of get a feel for. We built 214 courses. We did that in 6.5 months.
Oh my goodness.
So when I say rapid development, this is in fact a rapid development type of course tool. And we'll just take a look at, I don't know, we'll pick a page just to give you an idea of what the developer looks at when they're busy. It's a simple web form, and they fill in the web form, whatever might need to be there. There's the instructional text. That'll be used for the narration. If not, then they can actually type in a separate narration script, which you can see here. They've reworded the way the things are going to be done. The grammar police would get mad at me, but in fact, anytime you have a bullet or a separate sentence, you have to put a period on the end of it, especially for persons with disabilities, because the text-to-speech reader would not stop, or if you're not even using narration, a person who cannot see that well and uses a text-to-speech reader, this would all blend into one big sentence if you didn't, in fact, put the...
That's a good point.
That is a good point.
So it is... it takes into effect persons with disabilities, and the developer can go through and hit the preview button. It'll pop up here. Will it? Where's my windows? Got too many windows open.
That never happens to us.
Yeah, exactly. But we're going to go back to the home page here, and we're going to just go into a course because I can't run Skype and that at the same time. It keeps hiding.
Now, Bob, this is totally hosted, correct?
It is. All of this is being run through dedicated fiber that is, see, I'm using someone else's computer today. So we'll just hold the old control button while we click that.
Actually, what I do like is the interface is real clean, simple to use, it looks like.
This course will provide a basic understanding of beryllium's hazards and controls.
We'll turn her off. But you can see that my role has the role of subject matter expert. The student would not have this button, but a person who is an SME would have this button. When they click that, it allows them to make comments.
Slide menu. Moving your mouse over the menu tab will cause the jump menu to slide out. This menu will allow you to jump to any section of the course. Close course button. Close the course and save your information. If you close during a test, your grade will not be saved. This course will provide objectives.
We'll roll through some of
Beryllium
this
is a
beryllium
lightweight.
happiness here.
Different forms of beryllium. Solid. For example, beryllium parts. Dust. For example, grinding machine operations. Fume. For example, this section covers the following operation subjects. Medical surveillance. Current ongoing exposure greater than 0.1 micrograms per cubic meter.
Actually, the text-to-speech isn't bad.
It really isn't, actually. I was thinking the same thing.
Well, are you using a specific engine out there?
We are. I don't remember the name of it, but this particular engine allows us to pay for it and include it into our tool set versus being a hosted solution at a third party.
It's not Ivana, is it?
I'm not sure, actually.
It sounds kind of like Ivana, but I'm not sure. They do a really good job. I know she even pronounced beryllium correctly. That was pretty good.
Yeah.
It's a tough one.
Yeah, I mean, usually
Yeah,
it would,
that
it
is-
would,
that would be
it
tough.
would come out beryllium.
Exactly. Yeah, I've used a couple of text-to-speech services for mostly for prototyping, but the quality of the translation is often a little rocky, especially around medical terms or custom terms like that.
I'm waiting for the screen to update. Have you got the updated screen here?
No, I've got you back on screen.
Oh, you got me back on screen.
Yep.
Oh,
I went, well, he morphed. That was quick.
what happened? Okay.
somehow it
Okay,
stopped-
so I am no
stopped-
longer sharing. Am
No,
I?
it looks like it stopped sharing on you. Let me go back to you. Nope, it's just you. It's Skype. It has a mind of its own, kind of.
Yeah,
Does it?
Sometimes.
it does. I like Skype, but it can be a little testy.
All right.
There we go.
I just wanted you to see this. I guess there's just a little bit of a delay. Should be seeing training revolutionized.
Let me see that.
All right, great. I just wanted to talk a little bit about where we're going with this, what I call revolution. Okay, so step one is pay-per-view train. This is going to allow low-cost training to be provided to small organizations, medium-sized businesses, and gain incredible incremental savings as we add more people. The cost of the training goes down. Step two is, or part two, is going to be scormstore.com. That'll be out in about a month, and that's going to allow you to do the opposite. You may in fact have a learning management system. You don't really need pay-per-view, but you just need to fill your catalog with 2 or 3 courses. Easy. All you've got to do is go to the SCORM store, pick the course, and you can choose what version of SCORM you need and download it and own it forever. You get a license, a perpetual license to use it on your learning management system. We'll notify you if changes to OSHA regulations happen and we've got a new course coming out. And then the last piece to this is allowing the public to purchase the tools that we use to build the courses and thereby create these courses as cloud-based authoring. That means that a professor in Tennessee who decides he really has some intellectual capital he'd like to share could build a course, post it, and make it available either as a SCORM package or on the pay-per-view train website, and generate a revenue stream for himself. So a way to share our knowledge through a single cloud platform.
Now, when do you see that coming out, the tool part of it?
The tool part should be out. SCORM Store will be out with the packages within, today's the 20th, by the end of the month.
Oh, so it's imminent.
Imminent.
And the tools within another 30 to 40 days.
Great. Sounds good.
What was the sort of the opportunity that you spotted in terms of creating a kind of all-in-one platform like this?
Well, if you could think about it, doing custom training requires that a company like ours has dedicated video personnel, dedicated instructional designers. These same types of things used to be available within our clients' companies. When I first started working, for instance, with Pratt & Whitney, they had a 14-person training department. They had their own video folks, their own graphics folks.
Yeah.
As the economy has shifted, these people are going away. So if I can give them the tools, it not only helps people stay safe and learn something valuable, which is really what kind of keeps me ticking, but it allows them to save money and us to continue employing our specialists that are here.
In terms of a sort of guiding principles for the design, you said you built 200 plus courses in, what was that, 6 months' time.
Right.
What were some of the guiding principles that you adhered to for the instruction? I mean, I know a lot of people can slap together a course at that kind of level 1 click and read in a matter of a couple of days. but these look like they're a little more involved than that.
Well, we were very lucky that about half of those courses were already designed. So they handed them to us as god-awful looking PowerPoint presentations. And
Yes.
we set up a workflow whereby, and we had to get extra help. So I went to the local university and I said, I need somebody who's really smart. I got a couple folks that were on their way to law school, but were in between having graduated and having started law school, and their job was to do the research at EPA and OSHA, gather the content, put it in an outline. The secondary team, they're all using the same platform. The secondary team is refining that content while the graphic artist team is plugging in graphics. And the last piece, as a course was being finished, we had two people doing QA. They were looking at layout, and they were looking at the audio, because the god-awful, text-to-speech, sometimes it can't save beryllium to save its life. And literally, it was taking us about 2.5 days per course, start to finish.
But you are starting, it sounds like, with pretty solid, instructionally robust source content, so that helps a lot.
Yeah, for half of them, I'd say yes. There was over 100 of them that were already designed.
Oh, that's great. That's great. The tremendous effort behind this. Oh, my goodness.
Well, and then, of course, you get the change order to that contract, which says, by the way, we need we need 7 of them before the end of the month.
Because how your military training, in terms of just organizing your troops there, how that must have come in handy.
Well, we just looked everybody in the eyes and said, look, we've got to work overtime this month. And everybody said, okay, we'll do it.
Get her done.
Cattle prods help.
Yeah, a little bit.
Well, Bob was a special forces guy. He's used to being calm. So this is good. Bob, we are just about out of time. Were there any comments in the chat room today, or not much today?
None that I've seen.
If everybody's just watching, and I know people lurk, so a lot of people don't interact, but they like to lurk. Hey, Bob, this is great. We wish you total success on this, and promise to come back and show us how it's going in another, let's say, couple months.
Sounds good. We'll show you the SCORM store, and which is going to dumbfound people. How in the heck can Bob make, SCORM 1.2 and 2004? And ultimately, we're going towards the tin can API, and that'll be a whole nother discussion.
Oh goodness, yes.
Well, yeah, we're just going to kick the tin can down the road a little bit. That's kind of it'll be interesting.
Well, it's going to be totally interesting to see how people start to develop devices so that you could scan the book that you finished and get credit, and have somebody do a quick check mark on their phone and say, yes, he drove his forklift. I saw him do it. And all those pieces going into your training records along with the web-based training.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
It's definitely a whole new world coming on, and that really beckons and more talking about resources, staffs, and how everybody's starting to do things. And I think that's a good topic for another show, how people are dealing with the lack of resources.
Well, I can do all this web-based training stuff. I understand the programming. I still cannot set up my own VCR.
Mine blinks. I don't even have a VCR anymore, so I don't know. I have that little Time Warner box. It actually has its own time, so I don't have to set it, which is nice. When I had a VCR, it blinked.
Yeah, I think I'm a good 12, 15 years removed from the VCR days. My geek husband would not permit that. So
sounds good. Well, Bob, a pleasure seeing you again and having you on. Trina, as always, a pleasure, and thank you.
Thank you, and thanks. Nice to meet you, Bob.
It was great to be on the show. I appreciate it very much.
I'll send you guys an introduction letter to each other by email, so you have your emails, because Bob may need help. You may want a real voice every so often. So, now, Trina's a very good designer. So if you're looking for a good designer, she's right beneath you right now in that screen.
All of the Brady Bunch. I'll just look up.
That's right.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, this is too funny.
All right. Well, hey, have a good one, everyone, and thanks for being there. If you're watching the show, the recording, please subscribe. And if you're watching the Vimeo, well, actually not the Vimeo, the Ustream, and you like it, please follow us on Ustream. There's a follow button somewhere on that interface. I thought it was on top, but I think it may be underneath the player.
It is on the top and underneath.
Oh, it's both. Okay, so definitely click on one of those. Not sure what you get when you click, but you will probably get at least an email or something saying that shows are about to begin, so you don't miss any of the content. And soon we'll be issuing a newsletter telling you who's coming on and when, and hopefully we have a chance to see you here. Have a good one, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.